Autistic? You're just plain rude. On this video, we are going to explore the topic of why autistic people can seem rude. Let's go. Welcome, my friend. Great to see you and thank you for watching. I'm orionkelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about helping you raise your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, well, all you got to do is join the best neurodivergent community you are going to find on YouTube by subscribing to my YouTube channel and to my video podcast channel, Orionkelly Podcasts. You join the absolute best YouTube community. Let's explore why autistic people can seem rude and frankly are often misunderstood. So autism is a neurodevelopmental condition that impacts social interaction and communication, among other challenges. And clearly, this can cause struggles in navigating social norms, conventions, expectations that neurotypical people take for granted. They're just givens to them. This struggle for autistic people clearly leads to misunderstandings and a perception of rudeness. But how, Orion? What? Huh? I apologize. I don't even know what that was. I'm just going to leave it in. Let's give you some examples. Here are some practical examples of how autistic people can seem rude. They're not trying to be rude, they just seem rude because they're autistic. Lack of eye contact. Ah yes, this old chestnut. Apparently in some cultures, probably more, would you say Western cultures, eye contact is somehow a sign of respect and therefore making little to no eye contact is therefore a sign of disrespect or rudeness. Now this actually, from a culture point of view, I'm told that in some Eastern cultures, I believe, if you look an elder in the eye, that's a sign of disrespect. So it's a very, and this is why autistic people, like, you know, the conventions, the unwritten rules, the expectations, we can't keep up. And what doesn't make any sense. So if I look you in the eye, I'm being respectful, but if I don't, I'm being rude. But then the crux of it, am I being rude if I hear what you're saying and digest it, or am I being rude if I don't hear what you're saying and digest it? Because if I look you in the eye, chances are I'm not going to hear what you say and digest it. So which is rude? Nevertheless, a lack of eye contact is misinterpreted by neurotypical people as rude, when it's not in any way the intention of the autistic person. It's actually the intention of them to be respectful, to hear what you're saying, to digest it, to process it, to respond. Another example of how autistic people can appear rude is a difficulty for some, not all, but for many autistic people, with sarcasm, with particular types of humor. Autistic people may struggle to actually respond in an appropriate way for neurotypical people to jokes, to sarcasm, to humor. Now, when the sarcasm, the humor, the jokes, whatever, don't resonate with us in a way you'd expect them to, because maybe we didn't process them right, maybe we simply didn't understand it was humor, we didn't get the sarcasm, the metaphor, well then you're going to think we're being rude. This misunderstanding is leading to a perception of rudeness or lack of respect. So we're not trying to be rude by not laughing at your joke. We might not have got your joke, right? Your joke might have been too sarcastic, metaphoric or whatever. It might have been I have a very dry sense of humor, which means it's hard to know if I'm joking or not. But then again, you know, for someone who's so dry, you'd think I would get jokes, but a lot of times I actually ask, is that a joke? Now, maybe that's because it wasn't funny. A lot of times I'll say that. Again, that's not me trying to be rude. You know, it is rude to people because they want their joke to be funny, but it's not my problem if your joke isn't funny. Anyway, we're getting off track. How about this example? Our difficulty with small talk can lead to a misunderstanding that we autistic people are rude. Autistic people, in general terms, can have a real challenge in conversing casually, so in social interactions and communications that have no real meaning attached to them. They're just social chit-chat, things that we like to refer to as small talk. It's not something a neurotypical person even understands. They think, well, yeah, this is just life, right? You just have small talk. And that's cool, but it isn't something that an autistic person either resonates with or even understands. So you might understand it from the point of view of it seems to be some sort of dance that people do, but it's not a dance that I know the steps to, or I even understand why we're dancing. I don't want to dance. I'm not a dancer. You see what I get that it can seem rude and frustrating, But small talk is ridiculous. They ask me about the weather or the traffic. Who cares about the weather? Who cares about the traffic? How was the traffic coming in this morning? I don't know, I'm here. Is that a good enough answer? I walked through your door. I made it. I'm alive. I mean, isn't that the answer? You knew the answer already, right? What do you want me to say? It was horrible. I crashed and died. I'm sorry I didn't make it. An autistic person's struggle to understand or interact in a small talk, in other words, insignificant communicative style, can lead to disinterest or rudeness being the labels attached to us through neurotypical lenses. We're not disinterested. We're not being rude. We just don't get it. Another big example where autistic people can seem rude is our difficulty with non-verbal communication. So we've talked about small talk, verbal communication. How about non-verbal communication? Autistic people absolutely struggle not only detecting, understanding, and perceiving, and even responding to these types of non-verbal communications. You know what? Like the social cues, the non-verbal cues, the body cues, the signs. I don't know. I've lost the ability to say the word cues. You get it though, right? Like facial expressions, body language, even just the tone of voice. We might not get the tone. We might not deliver something with the tone that you require. And therefore you think, why are you talking to me like that for? That's pretty rude. I didn't even know what's the tone. What tone did you need? I didn't even know what the tone is. I don't have a tone. Like, you know what I mean? It's this struggle leads to that misunderstanding of rudeness. Because if you think that we just get the signs, that we just pick up the facial expressions and body languages, you've missed the point of literally every minute of lived experiences that I've shared on this YouTube channel. This is a struggle. We don't get it. The tone, the signs. Oh, I was hinting to you for months. What do you mean? I thought you were breathing. An autistic person's sensory sensitivities can also lead to a misunderstanding of rudeness. As you know, autistic people can have a hypersensitivity to stimuli, to the senses. We can also have a hyposensitivity. So there's the over hyper and there's the under hypo. Either way, it's at a different level than a neurotypical person would experience with the same types of senses, experiences. So an autistic person's response to a noise, to a light, to a taste, to a touch, to a feel may seem disproportionate, may seem disrespectful, and may seem rude. But again, it's got absolutely nothing to do with you or anyone else. Our sensory sensitivities are how our brain is experiencing the world around us. This isn't about you. You might contribute to it, but it's our brain. And if we're responding in your mind badly, disproportionately, inappropriately to certain noises, sounds, sounds and noises are the same, lights, smells, tastes, feels, these kind of things. This is about us. This has got nothing to do with you or rudeness or disrespect. This is Autism 101, guys. Catch up. We're not being rude because we leave an area that is overstimulating us. We are becoming oversensitized to. We may lead to a meltdown or a shutdown. We're looking after our own ability to regulate ourselves and live in this world. So yeah, this is not about everyone else. This is about us doing the best for us. Another example of how autistic people can come across rude is our lack of understanding of social norms. Autistic people may have challenges understanding and navigating the nuances of social interaction, communication, society in general. And this breakdown in an understanding, a working memory, or a working ability to navigate social norms obviously leads to misunderstandings of rudeness, disrespect. And there's no need to give, I think, too many examples on the examples, because that's an example. But if you're asking for an example to the example, seriously, guys, we're talking about social norms. Let's make it the most basic of interactions. How do you think an interaction should go? Is there a way it should go? Should it build up? Or from the start, can I ask you the deepest, most hard-hitting personal question from hello. You say hello, and I say, so your mum died last week. Are you okay? What happened to her? Why did she die? What are you going to do now? Orion, you can't ask. You can't just walk up to someone, state something that's deeply sad to them and ask them how they're going and what happened and the intricacies of who treated them, what hospital were they. You can't do that, mate. You go, hi, how you going? I'm so sorry to hear that sad news. What sad news? The mum? Yeah, but the sad news is fine. Just don't add the stuff, details to the sad news. You see what I'm saying? It's like, what are you talking about? I'm just trying to be a nice person, and instead of going, oh, I'm so sorry. Let's talk about something that doesn't mean anything to anyone, and that'll make you feel better. No, see, yeah, there's an example to your example. An autistic person's seemingly rigid thinking can come across rude to neurotypical people. Okay, so let's break this down. What are you saying, Orion? You're saying autistic people are rigid? Yes, that's right. Is it rude? I don't care. I'm not here to make people feel good or bad. I'm here to use my experiences to help people. Yeah, autistic people are rigid. We're concrete. We're black and white. We've talked about this. We rely on structure, sameness, predictability. And in many ways, that encompasses our whole life. We are rigid in the foods we want to eat, in the clothing we want to wear, in the people we trust, in the places we go, in the shows we watch, in the YouTube channels we support. Rigid. So if autistic people have troubles adapting to change, to alterations, to new plans, new things, new tastes, new experiences, well, what do you think is going to happen? So if there's a rigidness, a pushback, a wall to different things that just happen in life that neurotypical people just enjoy, can just muster the ability, I don't know how you even do it, anyway, then yeah, we're going to be like, what's your deal, mate? Like, you're just being rude. All I'm saying is, let's do this instead of that. All I'm saying is, let's eat here instead of there. All I'm saying is, let's watch this movie instead of that movie. What's your problem? So the rigidness of an autistic brain is there for a reason. It protects us, right? But it's there because, we don't have to explain everything to you, by the way, right? It's an autistic brain. It's different. Okay, well, there's a difference. Why, Orion? I don't know, because it's different. I don't have to give you the answers to everything. What is it with neurotypical people going, oh yeah, we can see there's a problem here with how, autistic people are treated. All right, autistic people, fix it. Fix it? What do you mean fix it? You broke it. You're the one doing it. You just said there's a problem. That means you're the problem, so fix it. Don't get me to fix it. What did I do? I didn't cause the trouble. You're causing the trouble. So the rigid thinking follows through to, I guess, an additional, maybe a tack-on reason why we come across rude to neurotypical people. So there's a rigid thinking, and there's also the difficulty with change. We thrive on sameness, routines, no change. So autistic people may struggle with changes, with sudden changes in plans. There'll be pushback, and that may offend, and that may lead to rudeness. By rudeness, I mean perceived rudeness. Rudeness through the lens of a neurotypical person, right? The neurotypical person may think you're being rude. They may become distressed. They may become frustrated, overwhelmed. Everyone is not winning in this situation. So this is really an easy fix. Now, I've got some strategies, and this is a new thing I'm doing on this video. I'm going to give you strategies for autistic people and neurotypical people. So separate strategy sections to help all parties in navigating this perceived rudeness. Just a few more examples. This example is always controversial. It's about empathy. So autistic people can come across rude to neurotypical people because there's a perceived difficulty in expressing empathy. So no one's the same. I'm not going to say all autistic people are empathetic. I'm not going to say that because how can I speak on behalf of everyone? What I will say is certainly all autistic people are definitely not, rule them out, not people who can have empathy. That's rubbish. Autistic people can display empathy, are empathetic, can feel things really deeply. just in a different way. The brain experiences it, processes it, and interprets it, and then, I guess, conveys it back to you in a different way, in a way you might not like, you might not understand, might be inappropriate to you or whatever. Like, what? That's you being empathetic? Bottom line is, our way of conveying empathy back to you might not be in a way you'd like it or want it. It may be expressed in a way that you actually think is rude, that you actually think is disrespectful. I'm just here to tell you, we're not rude. We're autistic people, and we understand and process and convey empathy differently. Let's talk about tone. An autistic person's challenges in interpreting tone can lead to this misunderstanding that we're being rude. Autistic people can struggle to understand the tone of a conversation, the tone of the voice that's being conveyed to us. Not understanding the tone of a conversation, as in the way a neurotypical person wants us to understand it, obviously can lead to misunderstandings. Misunderstandings can lead to rudeness. But I mean perceived rudeness, perceived disrespect. Tone is a really challenging minefield for autistic people. How do you fix that? We'll get to some strategies for autistic people and neurotypical people. Every autistic person is unique. You can't just apply one strategy for every autistic person and suddenly no one thinks you're rude anymore. It doesn't work like that. It's really important that you actually explore yourself and find strategies that align with you, with your challenges, with your strengths. So hey, maybe I've got some for you. Here are some key strategies that you as an autistic person can implement today to potentially come across to neurotypical people as less rude. Hey, I'm just here to help you. This is not in any way saying it's our fault, but we might as well make it a bit easier on ourselves here. And then after this, we'll give some tips for neurotypicals. First key strategy is about enhancing self-awareness. And I already alluded to this. You have to actually come up with strategies that work for you. Not me, not this video, you. Based on you and your experiences, your strengths, your challenges, your needs. It starts with you looking inside you. Oh no, I've got to do work. Oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. What does that look like? Okay, well, so understand your own autistic traits, the manifestation of you as an autistic person. What are those clear manifestations? What are your clear traits, your challenges, your strengths, right? And how do they allow you to be perceived as disrespectful or rude, right? Because we all have our specific challenges, our specific autistic traits. So that's the start of the looking inside yourself. Okay, so what do I think I do that could be classed as rude or disrespectful to people who don't know either I'm autistic or who don't care about knowing about autism? And if it helps, there is some research that suggests that implementing these self-awareness practices can lead to improved social interactions and relationships. Next strategy for autistic people to come across to neurotypical people less rude, even though I know we're not being rude, is to practice active listening. Now, this is one of those things where it's like, hang on a second, Orion, you want me to practice active listening? What, as a neurotypical person, as an autistic person? And this is the issue. No, not as a neurotypical person, as an autistic person. But if practice active listening means you don't look them in the eye, okay, cool. But it still means that you actually have to work that muscle to still really actively engage in, because if you've decided to have a conversation with someone, it's up to you to actively engage in actually listening to them, whatever works for you, and actively engage in absorbing it and processing it. I think personally, this can only foster better interactions with other people. Just work out what active listening means to you. Active listening means, guys, you actually are part of a conversation, you can process it, and you can respond or engage in it. I reckon this one's a really powerful strategy for autistic people. I reckon you should be as clear-cut and as explicit in your communication as possible. Now, you might think, well, hang on, Orion, everyone's going to think that's rude. Well, no, because it will, in my opinion, it will decrease the amount of misunderstandings. Being direct surely avoids misunderstandings, right? That just makes common sense to me. So in conversations, you may have thoughts, feelings, you might have needs. Express them explicitly, clearly, straightforward. Now, I don't really have to encourage autistic people to do this. We all know that, as a rule, autistic people pretty much just say it how it is. But I'm saying in this misunderstanding of rudeness, if you can just allow yourself to be yourself amongst neurotypical people rather than masking and trying to not be you, and just share your thoughts and feelings and needs simplistically, explicitly, straightforward, I think it actually will lead to less misunderstandings of rudeness because you're just being honest and open. There's no way they can misunderstand what you're trying to explain to them or say to them. They may go, oh no, you misinterpret what I'm saying. And that's helpful too. It promotes clarity. It reduces the chances of a misunderstanding of rudeness. You might want to use visual supports as another strategy to help you navigate interactions with neurotypical people and to avoid misunderstandings of rudeness. And I don't really need to go into this. You get that, right? Like social stories, visual aids, schedules, visual schedules, I guess cues, cue cards, these things that somehow support you in interacting. Why? Well, I mean, these types of tools, they can help us as autistic people because they can provide us with concrete guidance, concrete information, concrete reminders, an understanding of what we're going into and what we're trying to achieve. In using those types of supports that work for you, you would hope that would facilitate, smoother, more meaningful and satisfying interactions with others. So on the visual supports, let's do another one, but let's talk about social scripts, social stories as another key strategy. You might want to, this is not uncommon for autistic people, you might want to practice, even rehearse what you want to convey, what you want to say. Right? You might want to go through the motion and the conversation in a way that works out well to give yourself an opportunity to, I guess, iron out the bugs in even your understanding of what you're trying to convey. That might be practicing phrases or responses or questions. And, doing these types of things can actually tend to reduce anxiety in autistic people around these upcoming interactions. So they're worth a try. Learning and respecting personal boundaries is a strategy I want to give to autistic people to avoid a misunderstanding of rudeness. But in saying that, and because I think it's important we take ownership, but in saying that, I understand that you may have lived your entire life with neurotypical people not respecting your boundaries. So I get that this is a tricky one, and I've acknowledged that. But I think it's still important we talk about how we as autistic people can better ourselves, can improve our interactions. For autistic people, things like physical boundaries, physical distances, verbal cues, and non-verbal cues, these types of things can be really confusing, really hard to understand. That personal space thing might not always be something that we get right. It could be too far, too close. Talking to someone from a different room, they're like, why is he talking to me? He's not even in the room. These times. So it's about understanding those. It's about understanding how that fits for you, acknowledging that that's a thing that can come across as rude, but it's not your intention, and then working out, how can you best navigate that. Another key strategy, I reckon, is really important for autistic people, and that is basically just seek social support. Don't you think if you spend time in group settings, they can be of just your peers, online, in person, having interactions and conversations with others, that you experience the good and the bad, and therefore you learn the way to navigate this in the future. The idea that autistic people, by the way, only have bad interactions with neurotypical people is absolute rubbish. Autistic people can have bad interactions with other autistic people. Honestly and truly, it's not like we all just get on. What a load of rubbish. I mean, everyone pushes everyone's buttons. This is universal. But the more you do it, the more experience you can get, the more you understand you. See, it's not about others. Understand you and how where you may have gone right or wrong in interactions and how that was never my intention. How did I get there? Backtrack. Oh, okay, I see. And then you learn from there. Some autistic people really appreciate professional support. So visiting a psychologist or a therapist regularly to talk through these types of issues, it's something that I definitely do and I value. You may want to look at that. Seeking some professional support, someone who you can talk through your experiences with and bounce off strategies and ideas and de-stress and decompress and debrief in these experiences. That might be something you might want to, every time, you might want to consider. Some autistic people may require, may need, or may benefit from using technology to aid communication and therefore to decrease misunderstandings of disrespect and rudeness. So lean into that, use it. Assisted technologies, communication apps, devices, whatever it is for you, they can absolutely facilitate social interactions. They can really help autistic people who may have difficulties in communication and interaction at a level that maybe other autistic people don't even experience. So you have to use, they're not just for one thing, like for learning at school or this or that. They're for life, guys. Using these tools may actually help you express your thoughts, express your feelings, express yourself in a way that leads to no misunderstandings, no sense of rudeness or disrespect. So why aren't you using them in these situations? Use them. Being aware of your particular sensory sensitivities is another key strategy for autistic people in really navigating this misunderstanding of rudeness. Why? Well, we talked about it as an example, right? Our response to stimuli, to noise, light, taste, touch, feel, these things, they can be disproportionate to other people in the room, right? Because we experience it at a hyper level, a level they don't understand, they can't experience. So if you get to know what yours are, then you can use that awareness to navigate situations where the way that you may experience what you know is coming, what you're aware is going to, throw you for a curve, could trigger a meltdown or a shutdown. You're able to navigate through that. The bottom line is being aware of your triggers, your sensory triggers, not only will hopefully reduce your anxiety, but will provide you with a blueprint for navigating these types of situations where you put yourself into a triggered environment, which you shouldn't really do in the first place. You put yourself into a triggered environment, and then you've had an experience that neurotypical people weren't expecting, and it's led to that misunderstanding. And building on to the sensory awareness, okay, but also not only become aware of them, and you really do need to, your specific ones. Don't say, oh, it's everything. Come on, guys. Also, actually, let's develop some tools, some aids that can help you in the sensory awareness stuff, the sensory overstimulation. What coping strategies can you use to navigate these types of sensory overload situations? I'm going to go now, or I'm going to go up to a quiet room and chill for a bit, or I'm going to whack on some headphones, or I'm going to start to stim, or I'm going to grab a drink and go outside, or eat some food, turn on the TV in another room. I mean, these are all I'm just pulling them out, but you see what I'm saying? So yeah, you develop the things that will help you in those situations. Because we can't always avoid triggers, can we, guys? They might not be something we can predict, but if we know how to cope with them in a way that helps us and actually deflects experiences of, shutdown and meltdown, these types of things, well, it's a win-win for all parties. Because remember, this in the end is about us as autistic people working out how to navigate unintentional rudeness in the eyes of neurotypical people. But you can't really control how people feel, but you can control what people understand about you. By providing them with more understanding, they'll appreciate you more and realize that that isn't their experience. Their experience isn't of rudeness. Final strategy for autistic people before I turn to my strategies for neurotypical people, which are very important. Let's talk about embracing communicating our personal strengths. Autistic people have unique strengths, unique talents. They can often manifest into our passions, our special interests. Identifying, including communicating these passions, these interests, these talents, it has to strengthen, it has to foster more positive interactions because these are things that we're passionate about. These are talents and strengths. Therefore, we're confident about them. Therefore, we feel confident. We feel at ease. And in that moment, I think number one, you would hope that would create deeper relationships, deeper, more meaningful conversations. But also, as a worst case scenario, at least it would establish some sort of common ground. Don't worry, neurotypicals, you non-autistic people, I haven't forgotten about you. Here we go, my friends. Key strategies on how you, a neurotypical person, non-autistic person, can consider implementing today to reduce the risk of misunderstandings, misinterpreting autistic people as rude. Number one, this is obvious, continue to educate yourself about autism. Well, no duh, but seriously, some people just set and forget. Actually take the initiative to learn more about not only autism, but about the autistic person or people in your life. Now, this means things like coming to grips with, understanding, getting your head around the particular challenges faced by the autistic people in your life through communication, through interaction, through sensory stuff, through the restricted or repetitive behaviors, the way they regulate themselves. So not only understanding what autism is, but also how it manifests in the people in your life. That's a much greater level of education, right? The idea there'll be misunderstandings regularly doesn't make any sense to me if you've got to that level. And it's not actually that hard. You just interact with the people in your life. You just open your eyes. Education, awareness, understanding, appreciation play a crucial role in minimizing misunderstandings. Another key strategy, my neurotypical friends, to help you minimize this misunderstanding of rudeness by the autistic people in your life is practicing empathy, practicing understanding. Yeah, I know. The first thing neurotypical people can do or feel is, oh man, the autistic person in my life, all they ever do is upset me or say rude things to me, right? They speak to me so badly, so horribly. Now, okay, cool. That might be your experience. But if you've watched this video, you know that actually isn't the intention. That actually isn't the case in reality. This is about a receiving issue. Sure, it's also about a sending out issue. But this works both ways. Put yourself in the shoes of the autistic person in your life, remembering the challenges they have in social interaction, communication, these types of things. There may well be gaps in understanding around certain things you take for granted and never would even consider. Or they don't realize that's actually rude because this isn't something that, Orion grasps or gets or is even aware of. So why am I blaming him? Do you see what I'm saying? Being open to alternative communication methods is also really key for neurotypical people to not just automatically label autistic people rude. This could be in the workplace. Oh no, there's only one way of doing this. We have a meeting every Monday in a room, face-to-face together. No phone calls, no emails. Or it might be, we don't talk about this stuff in this family. Or, do you see what I'm saying? Everyone says, no, this is how it's done. Okay, great. But autistic people have a different brain. So this is a completely different operating system. How do you expect us all to just communicate your way all the time? And by the way, that's rude. That's rude. What do you mean? Where it's okay, we can live here as long as we do everything your way all the time. Although our brain is in no way equipped to live life your way. And you think we're rude. You just have to be open. Please be welcoming and open to alternative communication methods, non-conventional methods employed by autistic people. In your mind are so what? It's not the end of the world, guys. Be open to things like non-verbal communication, written communication. I love emails. I love texts. I hate phone calls. And like we talked about, for autistic people, I said a strategy could be assisted communication technologies, devices. Well, then you should also be welcoming to that as well. In other words, how can you adapt your communication style to meet the needs of the autistic person in your life? Another strategy for neurotypical people is to focus on the intention behind the behavior. So instead of solely focusing on the behavior itself, that is in your eyes, disrespectful or rude, consider the intention behind that. Because in the end, if we unintentionally come across rude, we're clearly not intending to be rude. So what is our intention? So I said something that was rude to you. Okay, but what was I trying to say? What was my intention of what I was saying? Remember, this is seriously Autism 101. We may have difficulties in expressing ourselves, in interpreting and conveying things. If you know that, how is the default setting that we're always rude? It doesn't make any sense. Look beyond the surface level and try and find the underlying intention, the underlying message to what the autistic person in your life is saying. This is a big one. This is a great strategy for neurotypical people. Give autistic people time to process and respond. We don't always hear you say something and bang, There's the response. I can ask my autistic son a question. I can legitimately give him 5 minutes, maybe longer, and I'll get an answer. It's completely out of context to anyone else in the room. But I knew that I was waiting for it, and I got it. Sometimes I've got to remember what I asked him, but I give it to him. We're not ignoring you. We're not trying to upset you, right? We're hearing it, and we're processing it. Because we haven't responded, what do we now have to have a what would you call it? Like a preliminary response. I'm a machine. Thank you. I've heard what you said to me. I'm now processing it, and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you for not calling me rude or badgering me with the same question 7 times. Beep. Like, seriously, please don't rush autistic people. Don't badger them. Don't pressure them to respond immediately. They're not being rude. We are processing. Simply by being patient, giving us space and time, I reckon will totally cut out a lot of misunderstandings. Because you get now, they're not being rude. They're not ignoring me. They need time and space. So I'll give it to them. Using clear and concise language is as important, maybe more important, for neurotypical people than it is for autistic people in decreasing this misunderstanding of rudeness. This advice is universal. I don't care what the context is. Using clear, straightforward, black and white language to the autistic person in your life, really at all times, is absolutely key. This may mean avoiding sarcasm, metaphors, idioms, ambiguous statements, open-ended statements. Why? Because these are difficult to interpret for some autistic people. When you use this concrete, this straightforward, explicit language, you know what it does. It minimizes confusion. It minimizes misunderstandings. And building on that, not just using that clear, concise language, but providing clear and explicit instructions or expectations. Man, this is important. Man, this is powerful in avoiding misunderstandings. So if you're giving instructions, if you're communicating expectations, you need to be clear. You need to be explicit. I've talked about this many times. There's no point in my wife saying, wow, there is a lot of washing that needs to be done today. Because in my mind, I go, yeah, she's right. There's a massive amount of washing that needs to be done today. Have a look at it all. Anyway, might go record something. No, that's not going to work. Yeah, Orion, there is a lot of washing that needs to be done today. Do you mind doing one coloured load? Right, now she could say, can you do all of it? Let's be realistic. See what I'm saying? Clear, explicit instructions. It makes it much easier for autistic people to navigate these situations, to successfully complete these situations. And it reduces the likelihood of any misunderstandings. Win-win. Respecting an autistic person's sensory sensitivities is key to reducing these misunderstandings of disrespect and rudeness. And you know why. Sensory sensitivities have a big impact on the autistic person in your life. So how do you help? Well, can you be mindful of the environment you're in or going into, or the environment you're creating? You can. Could you even look at providing a sensory-friendly environment in the workplace, in your home if you have an autistic friend coming over? Now, I don't mean you change your house. I mean, can you minimize things? Do you need every light on? Do you need 7 different sounds coming from 2 different TVs and 3 different Bluetooth speakers? You see what I'm saying? Like, do you need that on? Do you need this on? So it's not changing your house. It's just dialing it back a bit. Or in the workplace, it might be providing an area that is dialed back, or a quiet room, or just saying, hey, if you ever need a bit of a breather, this is a room to go to. And it's the same with the smells. You can control strong smells in the house. There might be things like perfumes or cooking, you have control over that. So it's just thinking about these types of things that we navigate and, understanding how to minimize them. Listen up to this strategy, neurotypical people. Ask for clarification. Big, powerful way to avoid a misunderstanding of rudeness or disrespect from the autistic person in your life. If you're unsure of what they're trying to say, what they're trying to convey, before you say that's rude, that's disrespectful, clarify. Ask for clarification. What do you mean? Are you trying to say this? And sure, there's a fine line. It's a gentle, kind of polite clarification. But I think clarifications in general are super important for all people in life. But this is really important in this situation. Rather than automatically going, well, I'm just going to misinterpret this as rude. clarify it. Making assumptions, generalizations of autism and autistic people is one of the worst things you can do. So I guess it goes hand in hand with the clarification stuff. Every autistic person's different. Get to know yours. Be flexible and adaptable. As a neurotypical person, this may be a strength of yours. It's certainly a strength of yours compared to the autistic person in your life. So to use it, lean into it. Be flexible. Be adaptable. Recognize that social norms and expectations may differ for autistic people. Okay, so you know that. Adapt. What do I mean adapt? I mean, maybe you can adapt your expectations. That might be much easier. It might not even bother you at all. Adapting or being flexible in accommodating or understanding the needs of the autistic person in your life may be like a nothing to you, like super easy, but the win is huge. For an autistic person trying to do the same, it's possible, but it can have a monumentally detrimental impact on them. So, like if you can do it, do it. Listen up to this key strategy, neurotypical people. If you want to help autistic people not come across as disrespectful or rude, not just to you, but to others in life, because if they're in your life, you want them to have good experiences, then hopefully, you can work hard on fostering a culture, an environment of acceptance, of inclusion for the autistic person in your life. How? Well, you could advocate for them. Just because it sounds like a weird word, advocacy, it just means sticking up for them. It just means allowing them to be heard. And maybe sometimes the best way for the autistic person in your life to be heard to certain people is through you. I don't know. Sometimes you want to talk for yourself. Others, you want others to talk for you because either you don't want to have that conversation or you don't have a relationship and that person does. It's using your abilities to advocate for the autistic person in your life to open up that inclusive experience. Challenge people in your life to fall into the trap of generalizing and stereotyping. Challenge the norms, because in the end, all you're trying to do is foster meaningful connections between you, the autistic person in your life, and other people and the autistic person in your life. Bottom line, it's really important to understand that autistic people are just as capable as anyone else of experiencing emotions, experiencing empathy. We just do it in different ways because we have a different brain. By providing some level of insights, education, lived experiences, hopefully you can create and cultivate more compassion and understanding in yourself if you're a neurotypical person or in the neurotypical people in your life. And that way we can have, a win-win, a more inclusive, enjoyable community for all. So thank you for watching. Now, if you have a topic you'd like me to cover in an upcoming video, topic suggestions are welcome. Let's get them in the comments below, my friends. I really do appreciate your support. Until my next video, thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon.